Hello, once again. Today is the 3rd of April, and I think today is the 8th day since Indian Prime Minister introduced this entire country to lockdown. And I'm still here. I'm very well, and doing different things, mainly in here. Not very much in practically going to the round and doing things, but very much in here or very much on the mobile. That's. But this morning I did a small. A short incense offering. I've sent a few photos to Peter and Trey to you people who want to see, and it is again on that roof where where I do my morning and evening exercise, and have a beautiful sun, rising, very little bit misty. So I did incense offering, and the prayer was very, very nice. The prayer, this incense offering prayer, is composed by Padmasambhava. It seems during his time in Tibet, I think around 7th century. So there might be a bad, disease, what is going on right now, and in order to pacify the difficulties and obstacles, and to quickly to overcome from the illness, this incense offering was composed by the Padmasambhava. And it is a beautiful prayer, not very long, relatively short. And when I read yesterday, the prayer arrived yesterday, day before yesterday, and yesterday I read a few times. And although he goes, through different difficulties, obstacles, different, the difficulties, but they all, trace back to, in Buddhism, what we talk about, the 6 root afflictions, 6 mental afflictions, root in the sense where they all come from. And it was very nice to read in that way, that reminds me, that at the end of the day, all the, our difficulties that we face immediately and in the long term are really very much rooted within our, within our mind, and in, particularly those distorted or called afflictions, like attachment, aversion, ignorance, negative pride, and so forth. So this morning, when I was reading the prayer, those words are repeated again and again. If you are experiencing this and that obstacles, and that is due to this and this afflictions, and by offering this incense, may those obstacles be pacified, purified, like that. So it's very nice. So I did that this morning. Anyway, today I want to talk about, the importance of understanding of this, the physical body. As Buddha himself, pointed out many times, and particularly nowadays very famous practice, mindfulness, Four Foundations of Mindfulness, from the Pali tradition, the famous that sutra, so this body, the body that we have, and our feelings, and our the thoughts, emotions, memories, then all the things which are related to those our body, feelings, and our mind, which is the fourth one, called the phenomena Chö in Tibetan. Today, I want to talk the first one, and this body, the body that we have, regardless of, sorry, I don't have any people around me, so I didn't, stop my, so this body that we have, regardless of what age, where we live, what time, although modern science may say, some of our brain cells are changing a little bit. For example, when I met one of my best friend, taxi driver, now he doesn't drive taxi anymore, Steve Sinclair, some of you know, very good friend of mine. And he keeps saying at our friendship early times, we London taxi drivers have a hippocampus very different from the others. And so due to what we do, and a little bit how we brought up, what we eat, and our from different genes tracing from different parts of the world, may have slightly different, otherwise it seems exactly the same. This physical body, and that is now clearly demonstrated, by the modern science, by those technologies. In fact, they say, don't they? They say, our human genes and those what you call the chimpanzees, or they have a very, 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 very little difference. Otherwise, exactly the same. When I first heard that, I was a little bit frightened that next morning when I woke up, I may turn up with a hairy. So that is really our physical, this body, in terms of looking at the building blocks, and paying attention to that. Just being aware of that is sometimes very useful to understand the nature of the body. Then, with that, built by these, the genes, molecules, all those substances, we have this physical body. And with it comes many positive things, and also it comes many difficult things. As from the teachings of the Buddha, says, our life is marked by the four events. birth, aging, sickness, and death. And that is really very much talking about this body, and being aware of that, those, events. And when the Buddha talk about the mindfulness of the body, those are the important points to be mindful, to be aware of. And it is the nature. It is the nature. It is not somebody punished us. This body being very fragile, easy to be, to be sick, to get sick by this small virus, easy to be, killed by this small virus. The nature, that is the nature of the body, and being aware of that nature is something very helpful. So there are those, with this body, there comes those unpleasant things that we don't want to, but it is part of what I normally call in that package what we have this body. We can't take away those. If we take all those, they cause us to get, illness, to get aging, then nothing will be left here as a body. We have to take out all the cells, all the molecules, then nothing to be left here as a body. But if this body to be here, these are the building blocks, how this body, what this body is, made of. So we have to accept it then, and that to be aware of that. And that awareness will be very, very helpful when we face individually and collectively this kind of very, challenging time. There's a deep sense of acceptance. Acceptance, it doesn't mean don't use any protection, they don't follow all those, advice or instruction. Of course, follow, use all those tools that we have to protect ourselves, to protect our loved ones, our neighbors. But then there is this reality, when some certain case, certain time, no matter how much we, keep protecting ourselves. One of my artists is very often, and no matter how much Botox we put in here, eventually our body will show the reality of the aging. And it is the same on all the other events, sickness, aging, and the death. And being aware of that, mindfulness of the body. When we talk about mindfulness of the body, of course, what is happening right here and now, breathing, sensation, and in terms of the hearing, I can hear, the birds singing. I can see the image of myself. And all those things. With this body, be aware of those things. Helpful, useful, being right here now, being to be right here now, useful. But it is also extremely helpful and useful. Mindfulness of the body, when you meditate on a little bit deeper, more, deeper levels of the nature of the body, which Buddha had pointed out. But it is also on the other side. Like, for example, Shantideva clearly pointed out, yes, this body is, something very unpleasant, something very, very, demanding, and so on and so forth. But based on this body, we can do something amazing things which we haven't done for many, 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 many lifetimes. In Tibetan, in his the first chapter, Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, Shantideva clearly stated, "Mi tula tenesu dunge cho cheleto, tuti chini nye kawe mongbe tusu nimalo." So mi tula tenesu, this body, the body that we have, is like a boat to carry to the other shore. Me too. That body, this life, like the boat. Then is dungecho cheleto. Depend on this boat, which is this body and mind, both human mind and body. We can cross the oceans of the suffering, misery. Mi tula tenesu dungecho cheleto. This kind of human, the body, mind and body, or human existence, won't be, found again and again, won't get again and again. Not easy to be, found again and again. Therefore, not fall in sleep. In others, not stay just wandering, just dreaming, not using this body and mind. So use this body and mind in order to cross the oceans, the suffering, to overcome. So based on this body, also we can do something tremendous, amazing things. Therefore, that is also important to be aware of when we are doing meditation, mindfulness meditation on the body. This body demands so many things: washing, clothing, food, all sorts of things. But at the same time, we should use this body, use this mind and body for our benefits. And that means really, which we were talking about other days, in this kind of difficult times, to serving others as much as we can. But don't forget that analogy, airline instruction, safety instruction, don't forget that one. But then with that, to really to work and support others. And people who, physically or, whatever the reason can't, actually to go, they are mentally to do the practice. To do the practice. Like as other day I briefly touched on, that Tonglen practice, taking and giving practice, which I'm going to talk a little bit detail some other days. But today, I want to talk about that. When we do the mindfulness meditation, relation to the body, yes, it is useful to be aware of the sensations, the movement of the breath without any judgment, be fully alert, fully aware. But it is also important to go a little bit deeper meditation or the mindfulness meditation of the body, the nature of the body. It's it's what's called unpleasant consequences. Having this body. Also, it's a positive, what's called the potential it has. So to be aware of those things, very, very helpful. And then the second one is, the mindfulness of this feeling or sensation, whatever term that you translate in Tibetan, Tsoa Tabanisha, Lu Tabanisha, the mindfulness of the body, and Tsoa Tabanisha, mindfulness of the feeling or sensation. And here, when you talk about feeling, of course, the feeling can be looked at the two levels. The feelings go with the sensational, like our what we see, nice weather, very sunny, very hot, and nice sounds. Feelings go with those things. In other words, feelings associated with the 5 sense consciousnesses, body, and so forth. But also feelings associated with the mental consciousness. In Tibetan, they says, that means sensation, feelings go with the 5 sense consciousnesses. The feelings go with the the mental consciousness. And therefore, of course, the feelings associated with the sense consciousnesses are very much forefront of our daily lives. But it is equally important for us to understand feelings go with the mental consciousnesses. And this is what those great Indian masters, his name, Asanga, and his brother, Tome, Inyi, Basubandhu, they all talk about these different levels of feelings. Of course, as I just said, the feelings associated with the sense consciousnesses are that what we remember, what we recall, what we experience, pain or pleasure, or mainly those two, not that much in a neutral, but the most important feelings that need to be understood is the feelings associated with the mental consciousness. And those are the deeper, if there are pleasant feeling, deeper feeling, or unpleasant, same, compared to the feelings go with the sense consciousnesses. So therefore, when we do mindfulness meditation, relation to the feeling, the second, out of the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the second, which is the feeling, need to be aware of both levels of the feelings, not just the sensory levels. Occasionally when I feel nice breeze right here and now, pleasant, that my body, feels cool, and immediately my mental consciousness says, nice. When the breeze slowly, goes away, hot, but that immediately associated with mainly the sensory level. They are important in the sense to deal with, to be aware of, but they are very temporary compared to some of those feelings associated with the mental consciousnesses. Like, for example, from the positive mental, the feeling, due to the deep sense of compassion, to the deep sense of love, altruism. The sensation or the feeling goes with those are the very deep down. That's why, quite often, like His Holiness Dalai Lama and those great meditators say, if you really truly want to experience the actual sense of peace, then the feeling of peace, sense of peace will come when we cultivate these deep-rooted, the positive mental states like love, compassion, altruism. And it is the same on the other side too, I think. The hatred, anger, attachment, the feelings associated with those mental consciousness. They are very disturbing, very unpleasant and disturbing. So therefore, when we meditate, the mindfulness relation to the feeling, it is not just sensory feelings of pleasant or unpleasant or neutral. It is also important to go more in the deeper level of the feeling which associate with the mental consciousnesses, and be aware of those, either pleasant feeling or unpleasant feeling associated with the mental consciousness. And again, the meditation will be the same. Initially, be aware of, be fully aware of those. What kind of feelings are going right here and now, pleasant, unpleasant, and so on and so forth. Just being aware of that. And that way, we will understand the what you call one of the out of the 5 aggregates that this life is put together from the Buddhist point of view. The feeling is sort of comes very often and talk about very often, and it is very important for us. If there's no feeling, then we are going to be zombie and not very much. So therefore, it is important to be aware of that. So today's my what I'm sharing with you is saying that when we do meditation should try to go more in the deeper level, like when you do the Four Foundations of the Mindfulness meditation. Go into more deeper level, bring more deeper meaning of the meditation, the mindfulness meditation with the body, mindfulness meditation with the feeling or the sensation, and be fully aware of that. Then try to live our life with that understanding, with that awareness. That way, I think quite naturally, how we live our life will become quite naturally to adjust when we are fully alert in that. As I started with saying, the body, the body that we have, by its nature, it is susceptible with this. All these are illnesses. Not only this, what's called the virus. All sorts of illnesses. So therefore, those are something. Then, we will not be frightened, like very, because of this virus. Yes, this virus is new, and it causes tremendous suffering. But there are millions of viruses going around. Even when the other day, I listened to one of the scientists talking about this virus, coronavirus. It is within a family of, which cause respiratory problem. It is not just completely new. It is within that family. So our body, by nature, very susceptible to have these, catch these viruses. And therefore, then there won't be a tremendous sense of panic. In fact, thinking, before this new virus started in China, there are many viruses going around. And this body is same nature. This body hadn't become more vulnerable after that new virus started. It is vulnerable right at the beginning. So then there will be less panic. And also, on the other hand, as I said, when we are aware of, yes, our feet are washed, our clothes, this body, we do that. But what this body is giving to me, something long-lasting benefits. And those are the verse that are quoted from Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, using the body analogy as a board to cross the other shore, which is free from suffering. Not just ourselves, but also others. If we use that, then clothing, feeding, washing, making, decorating, all this. The few years ago, one time I was here, visiting here, and one of my friends, he's in terms of the age much older than me, and somehow he saw a lady who's really, and he said, there seems like a painting fungus on their face. I said, that's true. They paint every day in the morning, or if they want to go out in the evening, they paint. They have a brush, so many different sizes of brush in their pockets or wherever, and so many different colors they have. It is true, you are right, they are painting. So he laughed. And there's nothing wrong to do that. I'm not against, painting or whatever, but paying that much attention to this body, we should take some advantages from it. And that's what Shantideva has said. So those are something useful to remind ourselves when we talk about, the very challenging time, or when we talk about, the meditation. Meditations become too much, too fashion, and almost everything is now become meditation. It is good, it is great, but it needs to go a little bit deeper to really to get the proper meaning of the meditation. So that is my today's blah blah. But I'll encourage you to watch some of those photos this morning. Okay, thank you. I will see you maybe in 2 days. Yeah.